There is a question that lives quietly inside many hearts. A question that rarely gets spoken aloud, but it creates a deep, persistent ache. The question is this: am I seen? Does my existence matter to the divine? Or am I simply one among billions, forgotten, unnoticed, moving through life without any higher connection? If you have ever felt this, you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not wrong for asking. But today, I want to speak to you directly, not to comfort you with empty words, but to help you see something clearly, something your mind may have missed. Because the truth is, there are signs, real, observable signs that indicate a certain connection has already formed between you and the source of all existence. And most people who carry these signs never recognize them, because they are looking for proof in the wrong direction. Stay with me, listen carefully, and allow yourself to simply observe. Let me name what is happening inside you. The problem is not that you lack faith. The problem is that you have been taught to measure your worth, including your spiritual worth, through external validation. Your mind has learned to ask, what proof do I have that I matter? What achievement, what recognition, what sign from outside will confirm that I am valued? This is the conditioning of a world that measures everything by what can be seen, counted, and compared. And when this same conditioning enters the spiritual space, it creates a painful contradiction. On one hand, you long for something beyond the material. You sense there is more to life than achievement and accumulation. But on the other hand, your mind still demands proof, external, visible, verifiable proof, that you are spiritually significant. And when that proof does not arrive in the form you expect, doubt enters. You begin to feel that perhaps the connection is not real. Perhaps you are not chosen. Perhaps the divine is silent toward you specifically. This is not a lack of faith. This is a confusion about how the divine connection actually works. Let me explain clearly why this confusion exists. From early childhood, you were trained to believe that value is earned. You were praised when you performed well. You were ignored or criticized when you did not meet expectations. Your worth was tied to outcomes, grades, behavior, achievements, approval from others. This created a mental pattern. I am worthy when I am rewarded. I am unworthy when I am not. Now, as an adult, this same pattern operates silently in your spiritual life. You unconsciously expect that if you are truly connected to the divine, you will receive special treatment, miracles, blessings, visible signs, sudden transformations. And when life continues with its ordinary challenges, your mind concludes, I must not be chosen. If I were, things would be different. This is a cause and effect loop. Cause: the belief that worth must be proven through external results. Effect: constant doubt about your inner connection, because external results do not match your expectations. But here is what I want you to understand clearly. The connection between a soul and the source does not operate on the logic of reward and punishment. It does not announce itself through fireworks. It moves quietly. It works inwardly. And its signs are often so subtle that only those who become aware can recognize them. If something in this is beginning to feel familiar, if you are seeing your own pattern here, leave a comment with just 2 words: I see. That is enough. A small moment of recognition. Now I will walk you through 7 signs. These are not magical markers. These are observable psychological and spiritual shifts that indicate a particular kind of inner movement has begun within you, whether you consciously initiated it or not. As I describe each sign, do not force yourself to match it. Simply observe. Notice what resonates. Notice what brings recognition. The first sign is, you have begun to feel a quiet but persistent dissatisfaction with things that once seemed enough. This is not depression. This is not ingratitude. This is a specific kind of inner friction. You may still have comfort, success, relationships, pleasures, Yet something inside you keeps saying, "This is not it. There must be more." When a person's consciousness begins to expand beyond the purely material, the usual sources of fulfillment start to feel incomplete. Not because they are bad, but because the soul is beginning to seek something that objects and experiences cannot provide. This dissatisfaction is not a flaw, it is a signal. It means your inner system is no longer satisfied with surface-level nourishment. It is asking for depth. If you feel some connection, then comment, "Yes, I see this, Krishna," not as a request, just as an acknowledgement of your own awareness. And subscribe this channel, Krishna Connects, to feel the connection with Krishna and his words. Many people suppress this feeling. They chase more success, more entertainment, more stimulation, trying to fill a gap that keeps returning. But if this feeling has persisted in you, despite attempts to ignore it, it indicates that something deeper is pulling you. This pull does not come from nowhere. It is a response to a connection that already exists. The second sign is a quiet, almost natural movement toward solitude. Not the isolation that comes from rejection or hurt, but a genuine inner need to be alone, to sit with yourself, to step away from noise and constant stimulation. This is significant. Let me explain why. The untrained mind fears silence. It constantly seeks distraction because silence forces it to face what it has been avoiding: unresolved thoughts, suppressed emotions, existential questions. But when a person is being drawn inward by something deeper, solitude stops feeling like punishment. It begins to feel like relief. You may notice that after too much social interaction, you feel drained. After too much noise, you feel scattered. And when you are finally alone, not lonely, but alone, something in you settles. This is not antisocial behavior. This is a sign that your inner being is preparing space for a different kind of listening. The divine does not shout over the noise of the world. It speaks in stillness. And those who are being pulled toward stillness are often being prepared to hear. The third sign is the appearance of meaningful coincidences that seem too precise to be random. Perhaps you were thinking of a question, and the answer appeared without you searching for it. In a conversation, a book, a sudden insight. Perhaps a person entered your life at exactly the moment you needed that specific kind of support. Perhaps obstacles dissolved unexpectedly, or you were protected from a harm you only realized later. Now, the rational mind will always find explanations, and that is its function. I am not asking you to abandon reason, but I want you to notice something. When these synchronicities begin to increase in frequency, when they cluster around your spiritual seeking specifically, and when they carry a quality of guidance rather than randomness, this is not mere chance. This is the function of divine intelligence operating quietly in the background. You are not being controlled. You are being responded to. There is a difference. When a soul genuinely begins to seek truth, the universe begins to rearrange itself in ways that support that seeking. Not always in comfortable ways, but in meaningful ways. If you have noticed this pattern, it is a sign that your seeking has been heard. The fourth sign is difficult to speak about, but it is important. Many of you who feel a genuine spiritual pull have also experienced deep suffering, loss, betrayal, illness, failure, grief, or long periods of inner darkness. And here is the sign. That suffering, instead of making you hard and bitter, eventually opened something in you. Let me explain the mechanism. Suffering has two possible outcomes depending on how it is processed. Outcome 1. The person builds walls. They harden. They become cynical, closed, and self-protective. The pain reinforces their ego's defenses. Outcome 2. The person, at some point, stops resisting the pain, and in that surrender, something cracks open. They begin to ask different questions. They become more humble, more curious, more connected to the suffering of others. Their identity starts to shift from, "I am this small protected self," to, "I am something larger that has moved through this experience." If your suffering led to the second outcome, even partially, this is not an accident. This is often how the divine works with a soul it is shaping, not by protecting you from all pain, but by using pain as a sculptor uses a chisel. This does not mean suffering is good or should be glorified. It means that when suffering awakens rather than destroys, something is being guided. The fifth sign is a shift in your relationship with truth. You may notice that you have less and less patience for dishonesty, in others, but especially in yourself. You catch yourself more quickly when you are rationalizing. You feel discomfort when you are pretending. Masks that you once wore easily now feel suffocating. This is a significant inner development. The ego survives through selective truth. It shows the world what is acceptable. The sixth sign is a subtle but persistent sense of being held, even when circumstances are difficult. This is not blind optimism. This is not denial of problems. It is a quiet, underlying feeling that, despite the chaos, something is watching, something is guiding, something will not let you fall beyond repair. Let me explain what this actually is. When a person's inner connection to the source is active, whether they consciously know it or not, there is a quality of support that operates beneath the surface of events. This does not mean you will never fail. It does not mean you will be exempt from loss. But it does mean that even in your darkest moments, something keeps you from total destruction. You may have noticed this in your own life. Moments where, by all logic, you should have broken completely, yet something held. Some call this grace. I call it the natural response of existence to a soul that belongs to it. When you are connected, you are protected, not from all pain, but from ultimate destruction of what is essential in you. If you have felt this inexplicable sense of being held, even when everything seemed to be falling apart. The seventh sign is simple but often overlooked. You are here. You are listening to this, and you have stayed. Let me explain why this matters. There are billions of people on this planet. The vast majority are completely absorbed in material pursuits, entertainment, conflict, and survival. They are not thinking about inner connection. They are not asking whether they are spiritually seen. The question does not occur to them, not because they are bad, but because they are not yet awake to that dimension of life. But you, something in you was curious enough, drawn enough, resonant enough to find this and stay until this moment. This is not an accident. The seeking itself is the first sign of connection. You do not seek what is not already calling you. You may feel like you are reaching out toward the divine, but the deeper truth is, the reaching began from the other side. Your longing is not proof that you are far from the source. Your longing is evidence that the source has already touched you. Now, let me connect this to your ordinary, everyday existence, because this is where understanding becomes real. You may notice that you feel out of place in certain environments, not because you are superior, but because your system is tuned to a different frequency. You may find that you cannot fully participate in conversations that are purely gossip, competition, or surface-level distraction. Something in you checks out. You may experience frustration in work environments that demand you to be someone you are not. The role feels exhausting in ways others do not seem to experience. In relationships, you may find that you are drawn to depth and authenticity, and surface-level connections leave you feeling empty rather than fulfilled. You may have periods of intense clarity, followed by periods of confusion, and this fluctuation may have worried you. This is normal. The awakening process is not linear. It is not clean. It moves in spirals. What matters is not whether you are always in a state of clarity. What matters is that the orientation has shifted. You are now facing inward, and that changes everything, even when it does not feel like progress. Let me now offer you something practical, not as a command, but as an insight. You do not need to try harder to be chosen. That framing is based on the old conditioning that worth must be earned. What you can do is notice. Notice when the signs appear. Notice when synchronicities occur. Notice when you feel that inexplicable pull toward solitude, toward truth, toward depth. Do not analyze it. Do not try to manufacture it. Just observe. Awareness itself strengthens the connection. When you observe without grasping, without performing, without trying to prove anything, you align yourself with the very energy that has been seeking you. This is not a technique. This is a shift in orientation, from trying to earn to noticing what is already given. From performing spirituality to observing inner movement. From asking, "Am I enough?" to realizing the question itself comes from the old pattern, not from truth. You are not trying to get somewhere. You are waking up to where you already are.